Alrighty, this recording is for our fall 2018 portfolio preparation class, and we are working on printing our resumes. We are assuming these are either 8.5 by 11 or larger. I have two options. This is an 8.5 by 11 with bleeds, and the second one is an 11 by 17 with bleeds, and it prints front to back. And we had a little bit of critique earlier about rotating back to 90 degrees here. So that's why this side is different from the front side. Okay, so we'll do the 8.5 by 11 with bleeds first. You will want to print on 11 by 17 paper. Now, if you are doing these as a final print, you might want to create a document where you put two of these up and print on 12 by 18. But for now, for our drafts, we can do it this way. Now, with this, I'm going to choose, for this classroom, the 328 laser 1. If you would like to, you could also choose the 341 number 1 color or number 2 color, because I do want to see your resumes in color. Okay. This one is not front to back. I didn't create a backside, which I should have, but I didn't. I'm going to just, because this printer is in our room, choose the 328 laser A, and it looks as if it's ready to print. Hopefully it is. Now, because I have bleeds, I'm going to go to Setup, and instead of US letter, even though this is a letter-sized document, I'm going to choose tabloid because of the bleeds. And we know that when we go to print that the printer's cut off about 1/4 inch anyway. They don't print edge to edge. So we'll want to print on a larger sheet size and cut it out. Now you'll see in this image right here, it shows that the resume is nudged up in the upper left-hand corner. We want the page position instead to be centered, just perfectly centered, especially if you're printing front to back. That's really important. And most of us will have possibly a backside to our resume. On the marks and bleeds, really the only necessary on this is crop marks. If you click on any like bleed marks, it can get confusing and you won't know which ones to use to cut. So I would just recommend crop marks on this. If you have a resume that folds in half, maybe this does, in this case, this one does not, but sometimes I put registration marks on as well because those fall at the halfway point. You can kind of see in this little picture right there. So if you want to turn registration marks on, you can. You don't have to. Now the only problem with this is I'm looking at this bleed and it says use document bleed settings and it's set at 0. Oops. I did not set a bleed when I created the document. Now that's okay. I can override the bleed settings by clicking off of use document bleed and put in an 1/8 inch bleed on all sides. 0P9, which is 9 points, is equivalent to an 1/8 inch. So for those of you guys who have taken typography, we learned about picas and points and all that. Well, 0P9 means 0 pica, 9 points. So I have a nice bleed of an 1/8 inch. And even shows in this little view, there's a little pink bleed out there. Now, I will go to the printer button, click OK. I really should have designed a second side for this, really. I would want two-sided on if I were printing double-sided. And if I click on Show Details, I can go down from Layout to Xerox Features. And depending on this, if this will flip on the short edge or the long edge, you can change it to flip on one edge or the other. So if I were printing this double-sided, and if it prints upside down on one side, you would go to this two-sided printing and choose the other option, which would be flip on short edge. If it prints okay on the other side, just leave this alone. But many of you may not be aware of how to change it if it prints upside down on the other side, and that's really frustrating. And it's right here under two-sided printing, and we would say flip on the short edge. Now, I'm going to hide details, and two-sided printing is still on. And in this case, if I had a second side, that would be okay. I'm going to hit print, and I'm going to hit print again. Now this is just printing on normal paper, it's not printing on heavyweight cardstock or anything. And I assume that that's what's loaded into the printer. I can't always assume that, but generally 8.5 by 11 is loaded in the printer. 11 by 17 is not. So I've got to this. I need to take, somebody put 8.5 by 11 in there. Has anybody ever changed paper on these printers before? If you have not, maybe you should come up, because you definitely need to know what's going on. What this says right now is it says resources required. And many of you have seen that before on the printers, and it's really frustrated you because you don't know what that means. Does anybody know what resources required means? That means whatever paper I specified on the computer, when I printed it, I specified tabloid. Over here, there is no tabloid loaded. It had 8.5 by 11. So Andrew, would you do me the honor of putting this into the manual feed tray?
Right here.
Which is right here. And then what we'll do once we put the paper in the manual feed tray was we'll take these little sliders right here and we push it in so it grips the paper. Now, up here, it is asking Andrew what kind of paper was just put in there. It says 8.5 by 11 labels. No. So Andrew, come around this side. There is a size, a type, and a color. He's going to click on size, and he's going to choose what? 1 by 17. So he may have to scroll through to find that. And on the type, is it labels? No. So he's going to click on type, and he's going to do plain cardstock in this case. Or not plain cardstock, plain paper. Because this is nothing special right now. This is a heavyweight cardstock. And the color is white, and it already says white, so he's okay. Now he's going to hit OK, and that is the resource that I told the computer that I wanted to print on. And now, lo and behold, we put the right resource in, we put the right numbers in, and it's going to come through. Okay? It just takes a second. Now, we have had problems with this printer catching on to the fact that we are, we just put paper in there, and especially on the cardstock stuff. Sometimes, if it makes all this noise and it doesn't print, it's printing them. I will pull the paper out and put it back in. And they'll go, oh, okay, you want to print. So sometimes it acts up and it creates problems for us. Now Andrew's going to pull this out and we're going to take a look at it. And it has crop marks. We don't need the registration marks unless I was folding. And I can cut this out using these crop marks. And it will cut down to 8.5 by 11 and it has the bleed. All right, you guys with me? Yep. All right, now let's do the big one. Thank you, Andrew,
Sure.
my lovely assistant.
You're welcome.
Now, I have a different one that's a folded variety. This is, some of you guys are doing folded type materials. This layout is 8.5 by 11 each page, but the 2 pages combined are 11 by 17. And I will be printing front to back. Now, because I'm printing to the tabloid oversized paper, which is 12 by 18, I have to do that because of bleeds and crop marks. I'm also printing to cardstock because that's what I have. So this will cover also printing on cardstock or heavyweight cardstock, okay? Now, for this one, it's a little different. You'll notice that I did design the front and the back on one spread. That's so I don't have to go to File and Print Booklet, okay? If I did the front here and the back down below, I would have to do Print Booklet. But I was trying to make it simpler for myself. So I actually had to start this document on an even page number. So to do that, I right-clicked and went to numbering in section. I made it start on page 2. Otherwise, it'll always start on page 1, and that's a right-hand side. And I needed it to start on a left-hand side. So that, again, was under, in the Pages panel, right-clicking on the first page, numbering in section options, and start it at an even number, such as page 2. Okay. So some of you guys may not be aware of how that works, but now you are. Now I'm going to print this one. It is a little bit more complicated than the other one because of the paper size and the paper stock that I have that's 12 by 18. First off, I will choose spreads. I need this to print in spreads because I need these 2 pages to face each other. In the setup area, I am going to choose tabloid oversize, not tabloid, but tabloid oversize. Tabloid oversize is 12 by 18, okay? It knows that. I want the page position on centered, and under marks and bleeds, I want crop marks, and because I do fold this down the middle, I might also turn on registration marks. That gives me a point where I know to fold it, okay? On the printer button down in the near the lower left-hand corner, you'll get a warning, hit OK. Now, two-sided is turned on, but it will not automatically print two-sided on heavyweight cardstock. So I will have to manually feed this in. Ooh, how fun. It's not automated. We actually have to fiddle with it. So I'm going to click Show Details because I need to specify that this is heavyweight cardstock. Okay, so I go to Layout, Xerox Features, and where it has white plain on the paper, I would click on the flyout menu and go to Other Type and choose Heavyweight Cardstock. Now, how do I know it's that? Well, in my office, it tells me how thick that paper is. I think that's 110-pound paper. And on the side of the printer, there's a chart. And the chart for 110-pound paper is heavyweight cardstock. So that's why I chose heavyweight cardstock. It's not just some random thing I chose out of the air. You'll notice that two-sided printing just turned off. It cannot automatically print double-sided to the heavyweight cardstock. It went to one-sided. So I'm going to hit print, and I'm going to hit print again. And I will get a dialog box that comes up asking me to pay for it. And then I want you guys to come up here one more time. You thought you were done. All right, it's going to say resources required. So come on up because this is more complicated.
All right.
Now, because Andrew helped last time, I'm going to have Anthony help me this time. Anthony likes this expensive paper.
I ain't got the money.
Well, it's only 17 cents.
Oh, that's too much.
Oh my. Well, this is resources required. So Anthony's going to pull this 11 by 17 out and stick it off to the side, and he is going to put in the 12 by 18. Now he may have to do the spreader bars a little bit because it's bigger, and he's going to pop that in there. There we go. And then he's going to tell the little machine up here on the printer, the little window, he's going to go to size, and he's going to choose 12 by 18. It doesn't say tabloid oversized on this. It says 12 by 18. He has to scroll through to find that. And then for the type, he has to choose which one? Plain? Heavyweight cardstock, because that's what I said on the computer. Those two have to be exactly the same. Otherwise, you get the resources required thing over and over again, and it will never print. And he's going to hit OK after he, oh, no, cardstock, heavyweight cardstock. If we left it at cardstock, it would say resources required. And you would never get it to print out, and you would be so frustrated. So heavyweight cardstock, they have to be exactly identical. Just heavyweight cardstock. It's in there somewhere. Oh, there it is. Yeah, there's a bunch to choose from. And then he's going to hit OK, and it will hopefully print. Oh, here it goes. He's pretty excited. He wishes this was his resume, don't you? You'd be done. You'd be like, oh man, that'd be great. Thanks, Rebecca, for doing my resume for me. Now,
Why don't you tell me how to do it?
yeah, we can. I'll just trade names. You can.
You always have the best idea.
Okay. Now he's going to pull that out, and it's going to be. He's going to flip it. Whoop, whoop, hold on. He's getting in a hurry here. Yeah, you guys. This is the part that'll really screw you up. Yep. You see this picture on here? It says printed two sides manually. It's up on the board. We printed that landscape. That's that little guy with the swing set.
Okay.
He's going to pick it up, and he's going to flip it, not head to foot, but he's going to flip it left to right or right to left. Okay? So pick it up and flip it.
Which way am I flipping it?
Okay.
Do it again.
This way.
I'm thinking that I'll flip it.
Yeah. And then he's going to put it back in the machine with it print side up, upside down, and you're like, oh man, this doesn't seem right. It
Like
feels,
this, right?
yeah, just like that. Now, oh, this is tricky because it went through the heat and the paper's curling. Ooh, pull that out. Pull that out, Anthony. We actually have to do this where we have to kind of carefully uncurl that paper because otherwise the sensors won't pick it up. It's a pain in the neck. Since I'm recording, I'll say neck. Now it's going to ask us what kind of paper did you put in there. Just hit OK because it's the same as we had before. Yeah, just hit OK. Now if this doesn't grab after it's making this noise, then I have to sit there and pull it out, push it back in, and I have to help it. But it's being nice today. Oh, that scared me. And hopefully we did the right thing, and we flipped it the right way based off of this picture we have here. Now Anthony's going to pull this print out, and he's going to see if it printed upside down on the other side or not. He's scared. Right reading. There we go.
Looks
Whoa.
good.
Magic.
Just like that.
It is.
Just like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I make it look easy, don't I?
Just
You
like
do.
10 steps
Okay.
later.
Now I recorded
I know,
this.
right?
I recorded it that way. If you guys are like, oh crap, how did she do that? That looks so easy. We got it in 10 minutes. Okay, so I'm going to upload that recording and put it in our Ivy Learn so you guys will have it.
So that's a foldable?
I'll show you the rest. Let me stop my recording and I'll actually fold this and cut it. If you guys want to see some of that technique there to make it easier on
Good
yourself.
job, class.
Good job.